Hello, I'm Mark Rasmussen at the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture, and I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity to contribute to this symposium. I would like to start with a foundational statement that I think we can all agree on. Food can be preventative medicine. Why do I say that? Because health starts with good nutrition. A healthy body is better able to ward off disease and other health problems when it is well nourished. However, given the health issues we see in our society with many chronic conditions, one can ask, how healthy are we as microbiologist? I have taken note of research indicating that our diet in recent times has been fundamentally changing the microbes in our gut, and that these changes are detrimental to long term health outcomes. But the biggest unknown that I think about are future considerations of children today on poor diets, such that we can consider them almost malnourished. What will their health be decades later when they are older? What medical issues will they face? What are the costs to society? I am not a medical specialist, so I can only ask questions and not answer the questions very well. But I get a sense that the answers are not good given current circumstances. But let's go back further in the food supply chain to look at how our food is produced. As director of the Leopold Center, I spend most of my time thinking about agriculture and its impacts on people and the environment. But I want to expand this discussion of basic medical health to a larger view of health, considering the health of our communities, the health of our environment, and the health of our soil and water. All food ultimately comes from soil and water, and history is full of examples where unhealthy people were the outcome of unhealthy water and soil. Franklin Roosevelt once said that the nation that destroys the soil destroys itself. He made this statement during the Dust Bowl era, but it's still a powerful statement today. So let's start with the soil. Obviously, soil is important for agriculture. It holds nutrients, it holds water, it provides a home for the microbial life that interact with plants, many beneficial microbes, but also some bad ones too. In Iowa, we live on some of the best soil in the world, and our whole food system starts with soil. It is no accident that Iowa agriculture is so productive. The glaciers and prairies made this soil very fertile and productive. We have an abundance of soil, but we have tended to ignore and abuse it. We let it erode across the landscape. We compact it, we build on it, we apply a lot of additives to it, regardless of impact. Gone, with even more in steep erosive areas of the state. And we have depleted the organic matter of our soils by almost the same magnitude. So it costs more to keep it productive, more fertilizer, especially. We even add sulfur and other micronutrients now to fertilizer mixes because of the depleted nature of our soils. We only need to look at other areas of the world where fertile soil is limited to appreciate what we have here, provided we care for it and can keep it. So, one of our first tasks in our quest for security and health is to restore our soils. There is a lot of interest in doing this amongst producers, researchers, and policymakers. In 2016, the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine held a conference titled Soils, the Foundation of Life. It was one. We also have now a Soil Health Institute headquartered in North Carolina that serves as a forum for those interested in this topic. This institute held a full scale conference in 2018 on the connections between soil health and human health. Their conference report is an excellent summary of what people think is important about this connection. I encourage you to take a look at this report. There are many ways to improve soil health, which I won't detail today, but producers and landowners need incentives to pursue such a course of action. But at present, our food and agriculture policy continues to incentivize intense production for feeding the world. This amounts to a resource extraction policy, which impacts our soils, especially when it doesn't, those practices are not sustainable and regenerative. Now let's focus on water for a moment. It is very easy to see how clean water and health are interrelated. Things can be in water which are harmful: microbial pathogens, parasites, harmful chemicals. Recent examples seem to be in the news all too frequently. We have an extensive infrastructure in our country in place to provide clean, safe water, and we have wastewater treatment plants to process sewage and other wastewater. Unfortunately, we don't do as good a job when it comes to our surface water and even groundwater in some places. Agriculture has a big role to play in keeping these water sources clean, but we need to do more, much more. And again, we need to provide the appropriate incentives to producers and landowners so they treat their land differently. The difficulties we have encountered with the adoption of conservation practices in the past illustrate the challenges. We may actually need to grow a new generation of producers who have a different perspective on agriculture and the environment and health. Currently, we are seeing efforts to change farming practices with respect to climate change and soil carbon sequestration. This gives me hope for the future that we are moving in the right direction, even if slowly. So, the final segment of my comments today asks the question of how do we get our soil health and human health integrated into one system? This is going to take a serious effort in transdisciplinary collaboration. Let's face it, soil research and medical research are pretty distant disciplines. As scientists, we tend to stay within our own specialties, those specialties where we have the background and knowledge to understand the work. We read different journals, and although there are a few exceptions, we do not routinely see researchers doing work that spans this range of specialties from soil to medicine. Let's just list some of the broad areas this effort would need to cover: soil science, crop management, animal and human nutrition, food safety, food processing and preservation, and finally, the medical sciences related to human health. No one person can handle all of that information, even in this time of abundant internet resources. So we will need networking opportunities across disciplines. We will need an effort on identifying high priority areas and knowledge gaps. We will need research, data, followed by more research. And we will need funding mechanisms that will support this kind of work. And on a more practical policy basis, we need to recognize the disconnects between farm and ag policy and human health policy. We can generate all kinds of useful research data, but if our national policies run at cross purposes and do not provide the proper incentives, then the status quo will continue and nothing will change. So I will close with a hope that my comments were useful. I hope that this helps participants understand the scope of the problem and challenges that we face. I point out these challenges, but I hope they do not lead to a sense of discouragement. We can do better than we have done in the past, but we have to acknowledge that will take persistence, patience, and even stubbornness. My hope is that there are members in this audience that are younger than I who have the drive and energy to push this forward. The rewards may be slow in coming, but they are rewards worthy of sustained effort. Thank you.